Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm just taking a minute to get everything set up. Okay. All right. So looks like all devices are in order. We'll just give a moment here. And we even have Bill here today. So welcome to Community Yoga Narada class. So if you don't know, this is just a virtual breathing and tension release class that I started during the pandemic. It's just an easy 45-minute letting go of your body tension, has a little bit of everything combined with it. Very basic, very, easy and minimal. You can do this on the floor, sitting in a chair, on a stool. I have my October series is all on a stool or a chair. So if you need to refer to that, you can. But November, we're finishing up our standing breathing, and we're going to do more of that today. We're going to start that a little earlier. And we'll get a little bit of movement involved in there, just some sort of basic elongated breath through the body while we're standing. So we'll come down on the floor to start, and we're just going to come into a nice comfortable position. So this position should be comfortable for your hips and your back. You can cross your feet. You can take your feet out into this kind of diamond shape here. Whatever helps you feel a sense of a plumb line. Shift a little side to side here. Letting your sitting bones become a little bit more prominent, right? So we want to just start to rock and feel the sitting bones. We want to use them as a sense of alignment and balance throughout the spine here. So we're shifting and releasing any tension around the hips and the back, just sort of kneading through that. And then we're going to settle right through the center. And then as we settle through the center, feel that energy. You're going to hear me talk about the tail of the spine being heavy and dense, right? We're using the tail end of the spine. And when I say tail, it's not just that little point through the coccyx area. I'm starting the tail because it's dense and heavy up at the top of the sacrum. I'm thinking of the tail as one long piece. And so this is a dinosaur tail. We're thinking of our dinosaur tail drawing down through the floor. And it's not held, it's not like a stick, right? It's just nice and it's rooted. There's a rooted quality with that. So our posture is starting through our spine and our pelvis. We've got the heavy long tail and the two sits bones supporting. By that release down into the floor, we're letting our spine balance inside. So we're just going to draw the breath down, let the breath release, and let the breath drop down into the base of the spine and the pelvis. You can close your eyes, let your shoulders relax, let everything sort of trickle into that heaviness through the tail. And just starting to release any external thoughts or tensions, bringing your focus into yourself. And then we're just going to gently open the eyes, take the palms together, and keep drawing your breath from the base of the spine and the pelvis up into your hands. So now we're going to draw breath into the surface of our hands as we move through the body and touch the body, your body. You're going to feel that there's a sense of breath and release that travels through your hands, right? This is called idiokinesis, when we use our own touch to affect a change or an awareness or a sensation. And so we're just kind of finding that sense of energy and heat between the palms here. And then we're going to separate the hands. And as you separate your hands, just feel the energy, feel that little buzz between your palms. Let that open out and spread into the space around you. So this is just like a nice morning yawn. We're just breathing from the inside to the outside and move in any direction you feel. You can explore very gently. Your breath is supporting your stretch, your openness, your elongation, and you're also becoming aware of all the space you can use to encompass, up above, down below, around the sides, behind you. So there's a sense of awareness through your breathing in your body that supports you expanding and opening. And then we're going to reach out through the palms, gather energy through the palms from the space around you, and just bring that over the eyes, sensing it over your face, and breathing to wash around the face, over the eyes, finding that nice release through there. And then we'll take our fingertips, middle fingers, up above in the brow bone. We're going to exhale and carve. We're massaging from the inside to the outside with a nice little lift up into the hairline, taking a nice exhale and relaxing the face, feeling that nice sense of openness and release that comes through. And let's take our index finger. Now we're going underneath the eyes, along the bone, the orbital bone. We're going to just sweep and breathe and open and release. Follow the line, which again lifts up and towards your hairline. Use your exhalation to let that release and openness come through. And then our fingertips, we're just going to scrub up and down on the forehead, getting a nice release of breath and getting a nice release of tension, moving the lymph under the skin. And then coming around to the outside of the eyes, the temples, very, very light, very surfacey, just gently circling and then continuing right away down in between the upper and lower jaw. So now you can poke a little bit more with your fingertips and relax your jaw so that you can really find the tension spots, right? So you can move all around and breathe into that, palpating deeper into this tissue because it's a little bit more held, a little bit more tight. And then we're going to take our fingertips up above the ears into the scalp, like you're washing your hair, just scrubbing and lifting the energy and the compression away from your ears. So we're going to travel around the shape of the ears towards the back of the head and just breathing into that nice sort of lift and decompressing until we're all the way through into the back. Now, at the bottom of the head, where the bottom of the skull is and the top of the spine is, you can just move a little bit, feel that little crevice there. And now we're going to take a lateral massage and feel that you're breathing into your hands and finding a sense of expansion and openness, just sort of waking up and lengthening and releasing any tension there. We'll start in close to the spine and move a little bit more outwards towards your ears. And then we're going to come back in close. So we're right at the top of the spine where the occipital is. And now we're going to go down along the sides of the spine, nice circular motions, releasing into those big erector muscles, traveling down the back of the neck. So we're just sort of breathing and massaging. You can check out, if you're holding your chin forward, those muscles might be more tense. So try and relax your chin a little bit, drawing in and back. When we come down to the tops of the shoulders, we're going to dig the fingers over top, take a nice exhale, sweeping and shaking off any tension or tightness, and going back again. And exhale, shake it off, and again going back. And exhale. Now we're going to take a big yawn, finding that energy from the base of the spine right through the midline. So we'll interlace the fingers. The breath from the pelvis lifts you up to stretch through the arms. And let that stretch come through naturally. Maybe your shoulders are a little tight and you need to stay here, but you're working on this lift inside. And just go with it, lifting through that midline, breathing through it, and then just kind of wiggling up out of it, feeling a nice sense of release through the hips and the lower back, and finding that sense of sort of unplugging the spine from the pelvis. And then we'll come back through center. Relax your tail. Your tail relax under. Let your arms drape down. Relax your shoulders. We're making this nice little cradle here. We're going to sweep, inhale through the side ribs around and up, making a nice circle, yawning through the chest cavity. Exhale. So we're using the arms to breathe into the chest, right? And around the back. Inhale through the side ribs. My elbows are really bent and wide because I want that softness and mobility through the scapula, through the shoulder blades. Inhale, you can find your long tail to come up. And exhale, breathe into the tight little spots to let them go. Use repetition to ease things open and up. Take a little pause and change. Exhale the other way. Relax the tail under, sweep around. Find your long tail, nice little window through your elbow up. And exhale over and around and forward. Finding that long tail to come through and up. One more time, exhale and around and forward. And long tail to come around and up. Now we find that connection through the center, lifting up, reaching through the arms, wiggling up taller, and we're going to keep that lift inside the body, but separate the hands, keeping that lift, just circle through the wrists, through the fingers, breathing the arms open. And at the bottom, we're just going to let the arms find a nice hang off of the lengthened spine, and then just let go. Now from here, we're going to take both feet out in front, and let's yawn from one side to the other. So your right foot's out, left knee is a little bent, left hand's behind you on the floor, just to give like a little bit of a push up and over. The breath, we lift the right arm up, and we just lift up and over the tail and yawn the chest and arm open and release and change. We're just kneading from one side to the other. Inhale up. And so we primarily use a connection through the breath in the body, lifting through the center, the midline, and that back hand is just a little bit of a helper. So you don't want to rely on the back hand solely. You're just practicing that lift with a little bit of extra help. So we don't want to put too much weight into the shoulder, right? So we want that center connection through the core to lift and open and release. Now take both hands up. Your feet can go a little bit out. We're going to circle through the wrists and through the ankles, make your way all the way down to the floor, and just find a nice hang. Let go of your head, relax over the hips, and find a sense of breath. Now, as our head's hanging over, there's still a sense of an up and over connection into the spine through the front of the body. So you can think of that a little bit. You're not squeezing in and bracing, but with your breath. So we're going to exhale, drop the head and drop the head. And we're just letting the breath go as the head lets go, even if it's just a tiny bit here, letting that release come through, feeling how that trickles through the vertebrae all the way down through the low back. And then just hang and sway. We're going to sway and sway. Use the weight of your head to sway and breathe into your back, shifting from one sitting bone to the other. We're feeling that nice little peeling up and dropping down on our sitting bones. We're going to use the breath through the belly. Walk backwards through your hips along the floor. So we're shifting in the pelvis, breathing through the sacrum and dragging the legs. So we don't feel that the legs are moving our hips, right? We're initiating through the hips and through the pelvis. Now we're going to take this forward. Now we're lifting up. You can bend your knee a little bit to just kind of shuffle and move from the hips. We're getting a little bit more release through the sacrum and the cartilage around the low back. Using your sits bones like feet a little bit more. So you're pushing up and over, and then just hang at the end, relaxing the head. Breathing out. Now feel that kind of relationship between the crown and the tail, right? So there's a nice sort of loop energy that comes through as we hang over. We're going to draw through the tail, drawing down through the floor. The tail is long and heavy through that dinosaur tail as we breathe in and up along the front. Now as you come up to find your tallest posture, give more weight through your tail, even as you're almost all the way up, because that just opens your chest and your shoulders and your neck without doing anything. Now from here, relax your tail a little bit. We're going to use our fists, and we're just going to drum on the sacrum. Breathe into your sacrum, kind of like a nice qigong release. We're breathing into that, drumming around right on top of the sacrum. Go out to the sides, into the glutes a little bit here, breathing into that. and then drum up the sides of the spine. So we're drumming up towards the ribs, towards the kidneys if you can, breathing into that to let go and coming back down. And then we're going to come into the back side of the hips and just drop like a nice little fist bouncing, releasing, letting your breath go. We want a lot of shaking and letting go with this little series with the legs here. So try not to hold your muscles. So we're letting go of tension, but also waking up deeper inside, right? Now we're going to take a nice flush from one side to the other. Nice little circular drop and release. So this is just for momentum. I'm not hitting. I'm not trying to be swift. I'm just sort of lazy with that release, letting the weight come through with gravity. Now I'm going to take the palms, a nice open hand, floppy hands, going around the sides of the legs in a nice fluffy motion. So we're starting up by the hips, and then traveling down the sides of the IT bands. We want a really good shake and release of these muscles off the bones, getting the quads to let go, releasing the fascia a little, and coming down until you're right up above your knees. So where your quads are inserting into your knees, your attachment area. We're just going to fluff again around the knees, breathing into that. You can go right on top of the knees, whatever kind of feels good here. But think of releasing pressure around the knee and above it. Fingertips are going to tap right into the kneecap, into your patella. We want to feel a nice vibration travel right into the bones, waking up the nerves, right? So when we take that vibration, just like when we're walking, the vibration speaks to our bones, speaks to our nerves, and then a whole bunch of things get going. And then we're going to travel down the shins, tapping till we get all the way to the ankles, and tapping back up the shins again, breathing into that vibration, waking up inside the bones. And then we're going to lean back, use the heels of the hands to now flush through the quads. So we're starting at the hips and flushing down all the way to the knees. And again, you can go a little deeper here. You can really use the heels of your hands to go into the tissue along your femur bones, whatever feels good, right? You want to breathe into that, a nice sweeping, and your leg is round, so go a little bit to the outside, a little bit to the inside. Come down to the outside of the shins, fluffy hands again. We're fluffing up around the outside of the shins into the peroneals, and we want to let these guys go because they're big stabilizers. Anything that gets caught between our knees and our ankles, we want a little bit more fluid juice to receive that shock absorption. That's how I think of it, at least. And then we're going to come back with the feet coming in, with the knees hanging out to the sides. Just relax here, whatever feels comfortable. Use the tops of your hands and go on the inner leg in a downward flush. You're just kind of breathing through that, letting go, and traveling down this inner adductor line of the leg. We're going to travel down towards the knees, breathing into that. We're going to gently flex through the heels to engage the calves. Take your fists and drop into your calves. Take a nice exhale, and we're going to release. A nice little kind of shake off there, letting any tension or tightness filter through. If this is sore on you, you can go from a smaller distance, right? Not as much force, but more repetition. We're going to travel down the calves into where the soleus and the Achilles are, and just kind of bouncing and breathing into that, waking up through the low leg. We're going to lean back, releasing back into the palms, let the legs come out, and just give yourself a nice shake out on the floor. Feel a sense of release through the back of the knees. You're just letting go into the floor, not trying to press. Nice little wiggling through your tail, through your shoulders. Now we're going to lift the right knee up. Inhale. Start your exhale. Feel a little gathering through that low belly dantian area. So we're going to exhale. Then let the leg go and change up. Breath. So we're coordinating the exhalation breath. That gives us a sense of gathering before we let go. So the force that we release into has some support at the other end of it, right? So now we can relax the legs, just let them hang open. We're going to do little taps in and out, just rolling in and out through the hips, little release and rotating in the hip sockets here, using that slight little tap. You can go as easy or whatever feels good here, right? So you're going to listen to your own body. Now we'll take the feet in. Actually, we're not going to do our whole rolling through the feet, massaging the feet today. We will definitely do that as we get into, I'm trying to think of a December theme. So we did the stool, we standing, and so we're going to squeeze through the center and walk through the feet. So we're going to exhale. Feel the connection from the pelvis down through the toes, reach your toes out and walk. So we're sort of doming. You're just rolling through the sand, picking the sand up and flicking it away. Exhale, breathe through the soles of your feet into the floor and walk. And exhale, breathing out and walk. How about shoulders? Shoulders are a good one. Now we're going to walk backwards, going over. And as we get into the colder winter months, or at least it is here where I am, that becomes a little bit of a thing. So yeah, I think shoulders will be December. That'll be good. Now let's go forward again. Exhale. So we're just sort of expanding and breathing through the feet as we walk and spread the toes wide. Also checking out what your toes are doing. Maybe they're going in different directions, right? Now we're going to go backwards, doming over, melting into the floor, up and over, doming. Check out your dome. Is your dome, does it look like it's a dome, like it's even? And then walking back. One more time, up and over and back. We're going to go and let's just release the legs and shake them out here. Now from here, we're going to come around whatever comfy position you have. Breath. We're going to massage in and up around the sides of the ribs, just breathing through the torso. You want to let the breath in through the chest cavity, feeling a nice sense of expanding up. And exhale. One more time, expanding up. And exhale. Massaging right into the front of the hips. All these little lymph points that we're getting here. And then we're going to come up into the center of the chest. Just do a nice little scrubbing up and down, releasing any tension in the sternum, sweeping down through the center, from the ribs into the pelvis, the bottom of the ribs, and just feeling that sweep. Let's go underneath the ribs on the side. And we'll come back through center, under the ribs on the other side. Just getting a sense of breath there and coming back through center, relaxing the arms, letting them hang over your legs, and just take a nice massage with your opposite hand into the front of the shoulder. Another big lymph area that we're just breathing and massaging through, letting that release and open up, especially if we're cooking a lot right now, if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, because I know there are people from different places all over the world at different times. So we're just going to release into this. Let's take the hand and the breath. We're going to just drop up and over the shoulder and exhale, release. So we're just letting a sense of letting go come through the hand with the breath and feeling a sense of awareness through the upper back and neck area. So our lungs and our ribs are all the way up back there. It's not just the shoulders. So we want to feel there's a sense of space or separation or existence of space between the muscles and the ribs and the lungs and all that stuff. And now we're going to come back, let the tail relax. The breath from the pelvis, we're going to let the breath lift us up. Inhale. We float up, suspend. We're going to exhale. Just let the arms go. Hanging off the spine. Tail softens. Breath brings you up again. So this is how we connect and stretch and let go. One more time, breath comes in. Think of each little vertebrae getting a little bit more space, and it stays as you let go. Shake it all out, releasing through the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists. Getting a nice breath through the upper back to come all the way down into the hands. So we want that nice release, letting go, fluffiness to travel down into our hands. And then once we feel that fuzziness all the way down into the hands, we're going to interlace the fingers and just take a nice compression, release, and breath. So as you're moving, you can shear your heels of your hands forward and back a little bit. And then relaxing in the wrists, we're just going to roll around. Let the momentum take over. Let your breath release and just see where you go. Don't try to manufacture it. And then reversing it, letting that release come through in the other direction, just letting it go and breathing. And then from here, we're just going to separate and feel the palms, breathe a little. We're going to breathe open and close. We're thinking of our fingers opening from the center of the hand, and the center of the hand pulls the fingers in. So we're not just flicking the fingers, which can cause tension into the center. We're unraveling like a flower blossom, right? So we want to feel from the center and in. And now from here, let's come around into the back of the head, the neck. We're going to hold, interlace your hands, and just feel your chin and your jaw relax, and let your elbows adjust. If they're really far forward, that's fine. We're going to breathe into the hands through the back of the head, neck, so you feel a nice sense of support, like you're against a wall. Let the tail find your heavy, long dinosaur tail drawing down as you breathe into your palms. So we feel a sense of length come through the spine. We're unraveling the length through the spine, breathing into that. So it's like you're sort of being caressed through the back of your body. Keep breathing through that gravity of the tail and sweep the palms up, getting a nice contrast to lengthen up, opening the arms out, around and down. So now from here, we're going to come right around onto hands and knees, and we're just going to work our way up off the floor here. So on hands and knees, let's do a little bit of breathing. Let's keep our heels, or they're just going to slightly touch here. You can relax your feet long on the floor. And find a nice position where you feel a plumb line from your shoulder blade, the bottom of your shoulder blade, down through the heel of your hand. You can use your fists if your wrists are more sensitive. We're trying not to put pressure into our hands and wrists though, right? So even though we're balancing on them, we want to start to find a sense of breath. If you feel more comfortable being all the way down onto your elbows, that's also fine. So what we're practicing is using the breath to move through the spine. So we're going to practice a flexion and extension, arching and curling in the spine. So we're just nice and sort of relaxed and flat, right? You're going to let your belly relax a little bit. And I don't mean push it out. Just let it go and let it release. We're going to let the breath come in. Now we're going to take an exhale and lift the belly to the ceiling through the back of your body. So you're going to lift your belly up, and that continues to lift up to the ceiling. And that is what moves our spine into a nice curl. And we're just going to deepen the breath, let the tail and the head respond to the curl and push into the floor to feel that penetrate and expand through your back. Now we let the breath come in. And think of your midline, right through the center of the body, through the spine. Unravel through your tail. As your tail reaches back longer and you get a nice crease in your hips, that's what helps your chest come through. Now we're going to do that again. Let your belly relax a little. Find the breath. Breath comes in. Only on the exhale, breathe out. And deepen it by pushing into the floor. Breath comes in. We're going to change. Exhale, unravel the tail. Breath comes in into your curl. Exhale, change. Breath comes in. And exhale. One more time, breath in. And exhale. Breath comes in. And exhale. So you feel how the length through the tail end of the spine opens your chest with ease, and the back of your body doesn't have tension, right? It's just following along. We want to use that when we're standing. That's why I wanted to emphasize that. So now from here, let's just stretch through the legs and the hips. Take your right foot back, toes tucked under. Find your heel moving a little bit. We're going to shift through the heel. Think of the midline. Now we're going down and out through the leg. We're going to slide and glide and release and breathe. And then bring that foot back in. From that lift through the midline, exhale. Breathing through the foot, the back of the knee, and the hip. So we just feel that waking up because we're sitting on the floor for a while, and breathing through the release and in. And exhale, feeling a sense of connecting through the midline as you glide and release. So it feels like your legs are starting from up inside under the ribs. We're getting the psoas to wake up a little bit and all of that good stuff. And in one more time, lifting through the midline to stretch and come back in. Now from here, if you can, lift your heels, tuck your toes under, walk back to your knees, and let your tail drop over and back. My heels are kind of touching, feet, toes are apart. Knees can separate and your arms hang over, and we're just gonna let the head go. So we've got that drop in the tail. We're just gonna bounce the tail to release in the hips, let the head go with that. And you can use your hands to shift your body weight a little forward and back on your feet. So you're breathing and expanding into the floor. You're just letting go a little. Take your hands close to the feet. Take a nice exhale and just push on the floor to stretch your legs. And you can just hang over your legs. Even if you need to bend your knees and you're up here, just relax your body over. Feel your tail draw back over your heels and shake the legs out a little. We're going to bend the right knee and hang over the right knee and just shift the hip into your left heel. You're just going to shift into that straight leg a little and change. Bend the left knee, hang over the left. Shift your hip into the right heel and change. So you're just kneading from one side to the other. And exhale. You can give a little contrast pushing into the floor if you want. And change and exhale. It's just nice and easy. This is not the deep version that we can do yet, right? So that is not for community class. We're gonna just hang over the legs. Now, feel the abdomen lift up to the ceiling. And I'm talking about your upper abdomen, your stomach is lifting up to the ceiling. That's your upper back. And now your arms are hanging. Your tail is drawing down through your heels. And we're breathing through each little vertebrae, lifting up, making space. As we roll up, we're kind of lengthening and releasing between each little vertebrae until find that long, heavy tail, especially just like on the floor, especially as we get to the top, you want to feel that tail heavier and longer. So now we're going to position ourselves for standing and breathing. If you feel more comfortable being on the floor, sitting on the floor or a chair for this, you can, right? So if you're sitting and doing the standing breathing, you're going to think of your sits bones as your feet. And so the sits bones would be like the heels of the feet, right? So we're going to start by finding a sense of breath into the dantian here. So we want to feel that long, like I said, from the top of the sacrum, drawing down through the backs of the heels. That's one long draped, long line that sweeps down and out behind you. It's really long, right? So now we're going to take our fingertips into the low belly. This is right on the opposite side of our sacrum. This is the pelvic floor, right? We're sort of narrowing and bringing everything together. We're thinking of that midline from the inside heels coming all the way through and up. We're gathering through that line with our breath. So we're going to let that plumb line happen down to lengthen. If it's not comfortable with your feet together, give a little bit of space, but feel the gathering from this outside of your hips and let your feet come in where that is, right? So, and it's the same for anything, for any kind of engagement. You want to think of the outside of the hips controlling the distance of your feet so you don't feel too compressed. So we're going to sip through the mouth. Use your imagination, like you're drawing the breath from your heels all the way. There's a lift inside the body. You're not going to see much movement. You're just going to see elongation, lifting up, lifting up, lifting up. And underneath our fingers, we feel everything go in and up. There's a response we're observing. Now we're going to suspend that. As we take an exhale, we lift even more. So we feel deeper engagement. We're challenging it. We're going to let the knees soften slightly as we exhale and hopefully feel a sense of length through the low back come through a little bit. And then we're going to stretch through the legs again. So let's try that. We're going to do 3 times, relaxing the shoulders. Let everything go. Let your breath go. Let the weight come through your bones. Start your sipping by slightly pushing your heels down through the floor. That's going to initiate and spark your breath. Suspend. Now take a little exhale, a little softening of the knees. Breath lifts up. And release and stretch. We're going to draw in and up again, sipping. Right through the midline, suspending, exhale. Release one more time, in and up. And exhale. Now release your arms. Imagine your fingertips stay there. As we sip, we're still sipping through that midline. The arms are going to float around and up from that effort. So this is our initiator, the breath. And the arms respond by floating around and up. If your shoulders feel tight and your hands you don't have to bring your arms side. They can float a little forward. Let this connection tell your arms where to go on their way up. So we're going to hang and release through the shoulders, drop down into the bones through the floor, and find your sip in and up. So the shoulder blades just glide and pivot around the back. We're going to suspend up. Then we exhale, softening the elbows and knees, and float down through the front, all the way down, and let go. So there's a suspension on the way down. Gather the breath and sip in and up again. Suspend it and exhale. Release one more time, sipping in and up. So we're waking up that long internal core. And exhale. Now, we're going to still sit. We round the tail under a little bit. The fingertips, and let the knees soften. Our fingertips are tracing the breath line as we sip this time, right up through the front of the body. So we're going to sip and trace as we lengthen. Wide elbows, make space for your chest. Light touch through the fingertips as you come up. Now we let the chest and the eyes look through. We lift and open the arms as we exhale. So opening the chest, breathe through the release of the arms, little bend in the knees. And then as the arms come around, round your tail under. It's like you have a heavy tail sweeping it under to bring the arms through. We're going to sip in and up again. So we feel that internal connection, and then we let it go higher, up. Find your nose and exhale. Let the arms go. And let the tail release under to bring the arms all the way through. One more time, sipping in and up. Let it come up, 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 and your tail goes down, down, down. And exhale. And tail releases under. Now, thinking of that midline, right through the center, we're going to let the breath come in. The right arm comes up. Think of your middle fingers here. Right is up and left is just touching the side of your body. You're thinking of that line and shifting it. We're going to shift over into the right hip, whichever arm is up. You're going to shift into that hip and just again draw down through the heel to feel this lift up through the side ribs. Let your head hang and exhale. As the breath comes in, the sternum expands and floats the arms around, pivots around your chest. Breath comes in, find center. Shift through center, exhale. And breath comes in. Floating the arms around, find center up. And shift, exhale. Breath comes in. And change. And shift, exhale. And breath comes in. Now we're going to gather the arms, inhale. Coming in, we're going to bend the knees. We take a long exhale. Feel the chest expand and the shoulders widen. Exhale, push away. Floating up. As we float up, we're going to take hold of your left wrist. Relax, hold with your wrist and relax your elbows wide. Find your sense of center, just like we did on the floor. We're going to go over to the side, exhale. Now, we just have a little curl under. Your pelvis guides this. There's a little curl under. We're not going too low. We're just coming around. Breathe. Find your long tail going down to breathe through the side ribs up. We let the breath in. We go over the top. The elbows are wide, and we're just massaging around the back of the ribs. So it's all that internal connective work that we're just breathing through and strengthening while we open and expand. And one more time, exhale over, finding that release and curling. Breathe through the upper back ribs. Inhale, find your long tail down to come up. Now feel that sense of midline. Breathe through the midline, release the arms open, around and down. As the arms come around, we're going to float up. Take hold of your other wrist as the breath comes in. Find that center and exhale over the other way, through the hip, through the ribs. The tail sweeps under just a little bit, the tiniest little bit of tail and knees to come around. Breath, long tail, side ribs up, and breath comes in, and exhale over. And the tail just gently softens your sternum and chest. And inhale, find that long tail feeding through the ribs. And up, feel the breath come into the front of the chest here. And exhale over. And that little tiny sweep of the tail down. And let the breath come in. Find your long tail to feel centered and up. Now we think of that midline, the center midline. Breathe through it and release the arms up. Feel the breath through the center. Release your arms open all the way around and down. Now from here, we're going to take a deep breath in, gather. Let's take the feet really wide out to the sides, actually. So we're going to finish off with something a little bit more fluid. Not that we're not fluid all the time here. I'm just going to adjust this camera here. So our feet are out to the sides. And when I'm standing on my feet, so when you stand wide apart, try not to have your feet completely flat, right? So the pinky line, the outside of the foot, should not be touching on the floor with that wideness. Think of the hip. You're going to gear your weight to shift evenly from the inside of the foot all the way up like a V, right? That comes from your center. Now, you can sort of test yourself. You're going to take your hands, your thumbs, around the sides of your hips and just do a little shifting and swing. Find your heavy dinosaur tail. Yes, we have a long, heavy tail. Yes, that's a nice lifted tail, Belle. Belle has a curly upward tail. So we're just so sometimes we can shift in the hips and it's coming from the low back, right? The pelvis is just following, but we want to shift in the hip sockets. So we're going to feel the heavy tail and you feel the creasing into the side trochanter here. Find your heavy tail. Your heavy tail keeps alignment as you shift and crease. Heavy tail, so we get that feedback from the inside of the feet and shift. So now we have the pelvis shifting and we're not compressing into the low back, right? Now we're going to heavy tail and shift over. We bend the side you're shifted to. If you're on the right, you bend the right knee. Now find that heaviness. It's like you're dragging this leg. We're going to release the other arm up, turn the palm up to the ceiling. Now exhale and just do a little drop into the side and over. Think of that hip dropping down a little bit and opening through the sits bone. So you're not tucked under, you're elongated. And your pelvis releases your chest and let the breath in and come up. We're just going to do that. Feel a sense of pushing down to gather through center. We do a nice little shift. We're going to bend that left knee. Feel your heel, so you're not only on the ball of your foot. So even here you can see on my body, my hip likes to lift up, right? I'm going to think of that heaviness drawing down and through the hip, so I can feel that my pelvis is really guiding the release through this leg, like I'm dragging the leg. Now, take your other arm around and up. Find the contrast of up to drop down and breathe. Let it go. Let that sitting bone on that side release and lengthen to feed through the side as you exhale. That's what becomes your side bend, to elongate. And then breath comes in to open out. Now from here, just take your hands the same way, take your wrists, breath comes in and up. Now we're going to bend that right knee, we go over side. Now we're going to curl forward, bend the knees, pass through to the other side, and up. Release the arms open, around and down. As the breath comes in, gather the other wrist, inhale. And we go up and over to the other side. And we curl forward. And to the side. And up. Find center through the midline. Push down through the floor to release up. Around and down. Now from here, just take a deep breath through the center, lifting up. We're going to curl over all the way down to the floor through the palms. Let your knees soften and just take a nice little bend of the knees and stretch just to kind of release through that. Now from here, turn your palms under and slide them through the legs. So the back of the palms are on the floor. Keep your legs stretched and just take a nice little curl and shift in your tail forward. Release. Now we soften the knees, bring the palms forward, let the knees soften. Again, find that heavy pelvis pulling back a little bit to drag your arms, no weight there. And release. Now from here, walk your feet all the way back in together. Take a nice hang over your legs. Relax and hang and hold into your elbows, breathing into the upper back. You can feel like you're kind of pulling your elbows down to the floor a little. If you need to bend your knees, that's fine. And just breathe into this release through the upper back and neck. Now the stomach at the top of the abdomen lifts up to the ceiling. We're going to let go of the arms, let them drape and hang. Use that contrast to breathe in and up along each little vertebrae again, finding the tail, lift through the abdomen, and as you get through to the top, hold that little pencil under your chin. You're holding the pencil under your chin to really breathe through the neck, the cervical vertebrae here, until you've come all the way up. Finding that sense, you should feel a little bit more presence through the gravity of the bones, and everything just kind of hangs off of that. And just kind of release, let the breath come in, release the shoulders, and just, letting your body breathe a little bit here. Let that release, and just kind of take a nice little walk out of this. Good. Nice. Okay, so yeah, that was just a little bit more standing and breathing. Of course, there's like a whole 45-minute series of that. This is really like a 2-hour intense class, but we are starting somewhere. So I hope everyone has a lovely Thanksgiving, and maybe you can use this to release any tension from standing and cooking. And so that's kind of it. We're going to sort of fuse things together. I just decided shoulders are our theme for December. And probably joining some of this standing sequence with the shoulders will be really nice. Of course, any questions or comments, please let me know. And otherwise, have a safe, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Right, Belle? Yes, and Belle will be exactly there. Thank you. Bye.